Hello and welcome to another Blender bite-sized video. In this one I'm going to show you how to create a procedural terrazzo marble material in Blender 4. So here's the spec that I'm using: Blender 4.2, Windows 11, NVIDIA graphics card, Cycles render engine and a custom startup file. Just before I continue with the tutorial, let me remind you that you can grab this material and hundreds more on my Gumroad store, blenderbitesize.gumroad.com. Okay, so I'm in my basic scene, which I have a separate video for if you'd like to see how I set that up. Just a simple object in a room with a light and a camera. Switching over to the shading tab and enabling display render preview, selecting the object and assigning a new material, which I will call Terrazzo marble. Terrazzo marble is like something where there's lots of chunks in it. You often see it with casting resin as well, so you could use it for that, for your ArchViz projects. Anyway, we've got a basic principled shader and material output here, and I'm just expanding a couple of the sections there because we'll be making some changes with those. And I'm going to press Shift A and add a mapping node. And then I'll drag a connector out of the vector input socket and search for and apply a texture coordinate using the object output. I'll duplicate those two. And again by pressing Shift D. And one more time. So in total I've got 4 principled shaders and 4 mapping nodes. Just going to give myself some space. And I'm going to grab a mix shader and drop that in between the first principled shader and the material output. I'll connect up the second principled shader to the second socket. And then I'll duplicate that and repeat. So basically for this, I'll drag it down so that I can connect up that third principled shader to the second socket of the second mix shader. Hope this is making sense. Duplicate that mix shader, drag those two down and connect up that last principled shader. So we've now got all of those cascading through those mix shaders into the material output. And I'm going to connect up that texture coordinate object output into all of those mapping nodes. Basically, one of these setups is going to create the overall texture, and then I'm going to have 3 different scales of like the inclusions, the bits and pieces you saw embedded in the surface, and they'll all combine to create the overall finished design. So to start, I will add a noise texture and connect that up to the mapping node, and then connect that to the principled shader in the normal socket. I'll search for a bump node and put that in between, making sure the noise texture is connected to the height of the bump node. I'll set the scale to 15, detail to 15 and roughness to 1. The strength on the bump node to 0.1 and the distance to 0.2. Just going to give us a variety in the surface there. So I'll select all of those, press Shift P and then N to open up this panel on the right, and give it the name Main Texture. As I say, this is going to create the sort of base white glossy marble. At the moment it's got 0.5 on roughness, but we can always change that later. So let's start making those inclusions with this second group. And we'll press Shift A and search for and apply a Voronoi texture. Then we'll connect the vector output from the mapping node into the input on the Voronoi texture. Duplicate it, set that to distance to edge and connect up the mapping node. I'm going to grab myself a math node, connect up the color output from the top Voronoi texture to the first value, and then the second Voronoi into the second. That's going to control the factor of the first mix shader. Then I'm going to search for and apply a bump node, connect that up to the principled shader, connect the math node to the height input, and set the values as 0.1 and 0.2, so strength 0.1 and distance 0.2. I'll set the scale on the top Voronoi as 7.5 and the randomness as 1, everything else is 0, and then on the second one the scale is 7.5 and the randomness 1. So we're now going to drag those over and tidy things up. Select those. And then I'll move the other bits and pieces around to roughly match. And then what I'm going to do is select the nodes that are in between the mapping node and the principled shader and duplicate those and drop them in between the other two pairs. Then I'm going to connect things up as normal, so the bump into the normal, the mix node or the math node, sorry, into the factor of the second mix shader, and the mapping node into the vector inputs on the Voronoi texture. I'm going to change the scale on the second Voronoi texture to 10 and change the color. You can give it any color you like. And then on the second one, we'll go for green. So this is the result so far. Of the two math nodes, I'm going to change them both to less than, and this is going to basically get rid of all that shading around the edges. So we've just got those chunks. Then I'm going to duplicate that set again and drop it in between the last pair of mapping node and principled shader and connect up the sockets as we have done with the others. And I'll change the scale on the Voronoi textures to 12.5. Again, I'm using that math node to be the factor to control the mix on that last mix shader. And the last colour, we've got a blue. So I've gone for purple, blue and green. Again, I'm just tidying things up so I can see the connectors appropriately. Sorry for zooming around a bit. I'm just trying to make sure I know what I'm doing. And then I'm going to apply frames to each of these and give them names. So the first one is going to be large. Second one is going to be medium. And the last one is going to be small. Now this is a lot to deal with in terms of a node setup. So what I'm going to do, I think, is group them and create some controls. So I'll select everything up to the material output and press Ctrl G to group it. So we can see there now in the main screen, I've just got one group node and the material output, which, as you can agree, is much, much tidier. Now we're going to name that group as Terrazzo Marble. Again, if you're appending this to another project, then it's easier to find. So name all of those three boxes Terrazzo Marble, and that will be labelled appropriately. Now what we're going to do is create some group inputs to control various aspects. So I think I'm going to do one for scale. So we're going to go into that top texture. We'll start with doing colour. So we've got base colour, and if you go into the group settings, you'll see base colour there. You can double click it to change the name if you want to. I'm then going to control the roughness. So just taking connector from the next available socket and popping it in. I'm going to control the specular and that coat weight, and also the roughness of the coat. Now I'm going to add a panel, and this is going to help me group these things, and I'll call it main texture. And then one by one, I'm just going to click and drag until it says insert into panel, and it will drop them into that panel. I can also reorganize them within the panel by dragging them, and that little text box will change to say insert before or after, and you can drop it when you've got the right position. So if we look now, we can see that we've got that panel, main texture, and we've got all of those settings underneath it. Now if we go down, we'll Shift A and add another group input. Not an object info, you idiot. Group input, that's it. And we'll pop it at the back here, duplicate it, and pop it by the principled shader. You can have as many group inputs as you want. I tend to use them nearer where they're needed, because otherwise you've got connectors going everywhere. Now we need to control the same aspects, because we want our Terrazzo marble chips to have the same look as the main texture. We just want a different colour. So that's why I'm creating a new colour slot for the large chips, and we'll create a panel for this as well so we can group it. So you can see it only creates new input slots when there's a new request. So for those things that I recycled from the former one, like the roughness and the specular, it will just keep the same slots because it's the same input. I'm also then creating one for the scale. And you can see we can now collapse those, and we can also move them around as groups, which is very handy. I'm then going to repeat this for the medium chips. Excuse me. So one at the back and one at the front. We're using the same controls again for roughness, specular and coat and all of that. And also we need a brand new one for the scale for the medium chips, and also for the colour for the medium chips. We also need a new panel collection for the medium chips. All this talk of chips now, I'm hungry. You can see how this is coming together, and once we have this panel created, it will make life a lot easier because we'll have a single excuse me, a single group to control everything within the material. So I'm creating there another small chips panel or group, renaming those inputs and dragging those into the group. Okay, now that's done, we go up using that up arrow, and we can see there we've got our group controls, and we've got them organized into panels as well, so we can now change whatever we like, and these are the important settings for that texture, for the look of the material. We can change colors of the different chips or even the base color as well. And we can again come back in if we need to make any overall changes to anything else, like getting rid of extra nodes that aren't needed. So we can see there, that's the main texture. There's our large chips being added. That's what's controlling the mask and the color. Again here, we've got that controlling the mask, that controlling the color, and that controlling the mixing of it with the previous materials. And again down the bottom, you can see by isolating all of these, you can see exactly what's happening. And you can collapse these down if you only want to access a couple of the little settings. Anyway, I think you'll agree that's much less complicated than the node setup that we have within that group. I don't normally show groups in my videos, but hopefully that will help. Anyway, let's take a look at the render settings. So I'm using a quite high noise threshold, low max samples, but I've got denoising enabled. And you can see the rest of the settings here as I go down. Feel free to pause if you need to recreate this exactly. And then in the compositing tab, I've just got the denoise node attached. Then I'm going to render the image. And because I've got a high noise sample and denoising enabled, it only took around 5 or 6 seconds to create a single frame. So therefore, when I create this animation of a 10-second loop, it rendered very, very quickly. Anyway, that's it for this one. I hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, please remember to give the video a thumbs up, subscribe for future content, hit the bell icon for notifications of when that's released, and of course, any questions and comments, drop them below the video. In the meantime, thanks for watching.